Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown review. Merry Christmas Eve to all of you out there. Hope you all are enjoying your Christmas Eve, and hope you all are getting ready for tomorrow for Christmas. I know I am. But Smackdown was taped tonight. I guess they taped this show last week before last week's show went live. I guess, maybe. But this was from the Allstate Arena in Chicago. And the holiday show for SmackDown tonight, absolutely fucking terrible. This is one of the worst SmackDowns of the year, in my opinion. And you all could say, oh, well, it's because of Christmas. But you could tell that WWE took the night off when they did this taped SmackDown, because what did we get? We had Toni Storm versus Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We had a 12-man Gauntlet match, and the winner of the Gauntlet match will get to face Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship. So that took up almost half of the show. And we also had the Miracle on 34th Street fight, which those always come out fucking terrible. So it was Drew McIntyre and the New Day versus the Usos and Madcap Moss. You can already tell how that's going to go. So, I mean, how many times do we have to see the New Day and the Usos? It's like WWE only pushes them in the tag team division. You know, take it that their tag team division is fucking terrible on both shows. And WWE only pushes the New Day and the Usos. And that's sad. That's fucking sad. How many times we gotta see New Day and the Usos go at it? But SmackDown, like I said, this taped holiday edition of SmackDown was fucking awful. Just absolutely terrible. But before I start the review, I know I haven't done a video in a week. The last video was the Dynamite review from last week. And that is because I had to get the battery replaced on my MacBook here. I got this 2 years ago off of Amazon, refurbished, renewed. And it was about time to get the battery replaced. I mean, it's a 6-year-old MacBook. So it was due for a battery replacement. But during that time, during that week, I watched SmackDown from last week, which was awful as usual. Monday Night Raw, god awful as always this week, and Dynamite was a good show for this week. Rampage will be on tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. On TNT. I don't know if I'll do a review of Rampage, but we'll see. But that is why I haven't done a video in a week. I had to get the battery replaced, like I said. So, but I'm back. So, but let's get on with this awful fucking show, this review. Which, gotta say, I have on A Christmas Story on my TV. I'm looking at it here. Watching this is much better than watching SmackDown tonight. SmackDown opened up tonight with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was backstage with Kayla Braxton, and it said that it was recorded earlier in the day, which, this was recorded last week. So Kayla Braxton ended up saying to Paul Heyman that it's been 1 week since Paul Heyman was fired publicly by the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. And on SmackDown last week, Roman ended up firing Paul Heyman, which I think that is a work. I think Paul Heyman is going to screw Brock Lesnar out of the Universal Championship at day 1. And Roman's going to retain the title, which we all know is going to happen. But I think Paul Heyman is all in on this. It's a work so that Paul Heyman could screw Brock Lesnar. So Paul Heyman ended up saying to Caleb Braxton, what happened? He ended up saying what happened was he told the truth to Roman Reigns. The truth Reigns didn't want to hear publicly. He ended up saying that he was fired publicly because he told Roman the truth. And Paul Heyman ended up saying that he paid a price for telling the truth. Caleb Braxton was like to Paul Heyman if he regrets telling the truth to Reigns. Paul Heyman ended up thinking about that, and he ended up telling Caleb Braxton no, he doesn't regret telling the truth to Reigns, because his role as a special counsel was to tell Reigns these truths that are uncomfortable, to not just protect Reigns as a personality or intellectual property, but as champion. So Paul Heyman ended up saying that when he came back from the ring, he had to explain that to Reigns. He ended up saying, but all his suits, his bags, and his belongings were tossed out of Roman's locker room into the hallway. Like Paul Heyman ended up saying, oh, Reigns ended up tossing all that out like he's some rookie. So Paul Heyman ended up going on to say that his role was to protect the Universal Championship. And make no mistake about it, he ended up saying that Reigns is the greatest Universal Champion of all time. I wouldn't say greatest Universal Champion of all time. But Heyman ended up saying that he needs to be protected from Brock Lesnar. So Caleb Braxton ended up asking Paul Heyman, what's next for him? Paul Heyman then took a sip of water. He ended up saying that he doesn't know. So Paul Heyman was like to Caleb Braxton, what do I do now? Go to NXT, see out the top talent, and start all over again? So Paul Heyman was like, not at this stage. Heyman ended up saying that he put every bit of his heart, soul, and spirit into being Reigns' special counsel because he believes in Reigns. And without that, Heyman ended up saying that maybe it's time for him to acknowledge that his career is most likely over. So that was what Reigns had to say to Caleb Braxton, but Paul Heyman did good in this opening here, the SmackDown. You got to give it up for Paul Heyman. The guy, loves the business, and you tell he loves what he does. But really like this. But it's not going to be, the end for Paul Heyman. So, but like I said, I think Paul Heyman is going to screw over Brock Lesnar at day one. Reigns is going to retain the Universal Championship. So that could happen at day one. So I think it's all a work by Paul Heyman. Then we went into the Allstate Arena. We saw Michael Cole and Pat McAfee on commentary. Michael Cole ended up thanking everyone for tuning in to SmackDown on this Christmas Eve. Yeah, who would tune into SmackDown besides me and a few others who are not doing anything on Christmas Eve that got to review this show? I'm one of them. So he ended up saying that it wouldn't be Christmas without the traditional Miracle on 34th Street fight. He ended up saying that the New Day and Drew McIntyre will face the Usos and Madcap in this Miracle on 34th Street fight. Which you all know, those Miracle on 34th Street fights are fucking awful. So they end up also plugging the 12 Days of Christmas Gauntlet match to determine the #1 contender to face Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship. And then we went to the first match, which was Charlotte Flair versus Toni Storm, SmackDown Women's Championship on the line. Match wasn't that good, in my opinion. We had Charlotte end up coming out, of course, had her pyro, and then out came Toni Storm. And we saw the video of how Toni Storm ended up earning this shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship. Well, basically, all this whole feud with Toni Storm and Charlotte Flair are based on them pieing each other. Charlotte Flair ended up pieing Toni Storm twice, and then Toni Storm got back and pied Charlotte. I'm like, what are we watching? The Three Stooges? If I want to see a pies being thrown in the face, I will watch a Three Stooges short. So then the match ended up starting as SmackDown came back from the commercial. Both Toni Storm and Charlotte end up sizing each other up. And Charlotte ended up taking Toni Storm into the corner. Charlotte then took Toni Storm into another corner and backed off. Toni Storm came back, ended up rocking Charlotte with some uppercuts. So Toni Storm got the advantage on Charlotte. She ended up knocking Charlotte down to her knees, started delivering some strikes to Charlotte. Charlotte ended up booting Toni Storm in her gut. Toni Storm then ended up hitting a crossbody on Charlotte. She went for the cover. Charlotte kicked out at 1. We had Charlotte end up doing her awful moonsault, which, I'm sorry, Charlotte needs to stop doing her moonsault. It is fucking awful every time she does it. And then not only that, we had Toni Storm move out of the way. Charlotte did another moonsault, which she botched it. So fucking awful it looked. So then we had Charlotte trying to cheat her way to win, where she ended up grabbing the rope, which the referee ended up catching her, grabbing onto the rope. So it was just pin attempt after pin attempt from both Charlotte and Toni Storm. And Charlotte ended up managing to get the pin on Toni Storm after Charlotte ended up countering a roll-up. So there you go. Charlotte ended up winning the match, retaining the SmackDown Women's Championship. And that was that. But predictable. We all knew that Charlotte was going to retain. You think Toni Storm is going to win the title on Christmas Eve? No. Overall, this match wasn't even that good. So then we had a recap from last week where Drew McIntyre ended up crashing happy talk, shit talk with Moss and Corbin, or as I refer to them as 60s Batman, Joker, and Riddler. Because that's what they do. They laugh. If you watch 60s Batman, Joker played by Cesar Romero and the Riddler played by Frank Gorshin, they laugh, all the time. And that's what I see in Moss and Corbin every time they're on TV. And every time when Moss and Corbin are on TV, it is literally fucking awful. Them two are the worst parts of SmackDown. So we had Corbin and Moss. Last week they had Adam Pearce's desk in the ring. If you remember when Drew McIntyre ended up planning the sword, his sword Angela into Adam Pearce's desk, well, Moss and Corbin had it in the ring last week. And I guess Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard ended up watching the Disney film The Sword and the Stone, where Moss and Corbin were trying to take the sword out of the desk, but they couldn't. So instead of having a stone, they had a desk. So Vince and Bruce were probably like, oh, well, we finished watching this classic animated Disney film, The Sword and the Stone, so let's do this with Moss and Corbin. Let's not have a stone, but let's do it with Adam Pearce's desk. Let's have Moss and Corbin pull the sword out, and the sword doesn't come out. How original. How original is that? So then, after we saw that recap, awful recap of that from last week. So after that, we had Xavier Woods, King Woods, and Kofi Kingston backstage. Drew McIntyre ended up walking up with his sword Angela, and McIntyre ended up saying that he's always ready for battle, and it's a special day when Drew Day gets back together. Cringe. So we had Woods and Kingston end up looking forward to getting the SmackDown Tag Team titles back at day 1. But first, they will beat Madcap, Moss, and the Usos tonight. So I'm like, why are we seeing the Usos and New Day in this Miracle on 34th Street fight when we're going to be seeing them have a match next week at day one. Unbelievable. So McIntyre ended up saying that it is a bit sad because he might beat Madcap Moss so bad that Moss can't make it to day one. So then we had McIntyre, Xavier Woods, and Kofi Kingston just laughing. They're going like, and I swear, when they were laughing, this is what I thought of right here. Yeah, Mozart in the classic film Amadeus. That laugh. Go back and watch that segment with Woods, Kofi, and Drew McIntyre of them laughing like that. Does it sound like Mozart's laugh here in Amadeus? I thought so. That's what came to my mind when I saw them laughing here. So that was that. And then we had the 12 Days of Christmas Gauntlet match, where the winner gets to face Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship. They will be the #1 contender. So we had Rick Boogs, end up coming out with his guitar. Yep, of course, doing the introduction for Nakamura. And then SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw Xia Li. Xia Li was backstage. Xia Li ended up saying that she has known a woman like Natalya all her life, and that she doesn't fear Natalya. She will fight her. So Xia Li then ended up speaking in Chinese, and then she ended up saying that she is the protector. And pretty much that was basically that. So I guess we're getting Xia Li versus Natalya. Yeah, does that sound interesting? No. And so we had Nakamura and Boogs. They were watching from ringside. They were near the commentary table to watch this gauntlet match. So, Angel. Who? Angel Garza? No, just Angel. Because WWE stupidly dropped Angel's last name. They dropped Garza. I don't understand why WWE has to change names sometimes to their superstars. Makes no sense. So Angel was out first, and then Mansoor ended up making his way out. So it was Angel versus Mansoor. They started off this gauntlet match. Bell ended up ringing. Mansoor ended up catching a kick from Angel, and then delivered a inverted atomic drop on Angel. Both guys ended up running the ropes, and Mansoor ended up nailing another atomic drop to Angel, and then did a drop kick. Mansoor ended up fighting back from the corner, and Angel ended up putting his legs out, and Mansoor ended up hitting hard on the turnbuckles. And Mansoor ended up getting eliminated because Angel ended up hitting the wing clipper. So Mansoor was eliminated. And then Angel ended up taking on Eric of the Viking Raiders. And then Angel ended up eliminating Eric from the gauntlet match. And then Shanky. Yeah, Shanky, Jinder Mahal's guy, ended up coming out. So we had Shanky defeating Angel. And I'm like, really? And then Ivar, next guy of the Viking Raiders, ended up coming out. So Ivar ended up defeating Shanky, eliminating Shanky. Then it was Sheamus and Ivar, which Sheamus and Ivar was, okay here. A lot of offense. Sheamus ended up eliminating Ivar from the match. And then Drew Gulak ended up coming out. And of course, Drew Gulak ends up getting in the ring. And Sheamus delivered the bro kick. And right from there, Drew Gulak ended up getting eliminated in 2 seconds. So, Sheamus eliminated Drew Gulak. And you could tell why Drew Gulak was eliminated just like that. Because we have to have Sheamus versus Cesaro go at it again. And yes, Sheamus and Cesaro went at it in this gauntlet match. So we had Sheamus end up eliminating Cesaro from the match. And then Ricochet ended up coming out. So we got Ricochet versus Sheamus in the gauntlet match, which was pretty good. Ricochet ended up taking down Sheamus, and Ricochet ended up eliminating Sheamus. Ricochet then ended up taking on Humberto, not Humberto Carrillo, just Humberto. So Ricochet ended up eliminating him. And then Jinder Mahal was the next guy to come out to face Ricochet in this Gauntlet match, which we all know Jinder Mahal, if he's in there, he's getting eliminated. So Jinder Mahal got eliminated by Ricochet, which we all knew. And then Sami Zayn ended up coming out. So right from there, it was predictable who was going to win the match. So I thought Sami Zayn and Ricochet ended up doing pretty okay here. So Sami Zayn ended up winning this Gauntlet match, defeating Ricochet with the Haluva kick. So you go, Sami Zayn ended up winning the match. He will face Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship. Whenever that happens, it's not taking place at day one. So there you go. Sami Zayn is your number one contender for Shinsuke Nakamura's Intercontinental Championship. So that was the Gauntlet match. So then we had a look at Paul Heyman's career, which was a pretty nice video package showcasing Paul Heyman's career of him, managing, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and also Rick Rude, and also showcases, ECW, how he created ECW. They went to 2001, where the Invasion angle happened. It also went to, Brock Lesnar defeating The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, where Brock Lesnar ended up breaking The Undertaker's streak. And also showcased, him aligning with Roman last year. Goes all the way up to Roman firing Paul Heyman, which is, of course, I believe, a work done by Paul Heyman to screw Brock Lesnar at day one. So it was a pretty nice, video package highlighting Paul Heyman's career. Paul Heyman is the best in this business. So very well done package of Paul Heyman's career. And then we had the main event, which was the Miracle on 34th Street fight. The Usos and Madcap Moss versus Drew McIntyre and The New Day. So we're seeing the Usos and The New Day go at it once again here in the match, when we're going to be seeing the same match minus the Miracle on 34th Street fight, minus Moss in there, and minus Drew McIntyre. So it's going to be the Usos versus The New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team titles next week at day one. So what's going to be different? Absolutely nothing. But this was embarrassing. This match was embarrassing. This match was terrible. So we had Moss and Corbin end up coming out first. And then the Usos end up coming out. And then we had the New Day and Drew McIntyre end up coming out. So we had the match start off with Woods and Jey Uso going at it. Woods ended up catching a super kick, leveled Jey with a right hand. Woods ended up going for the cover, which Jey ended up kicking out too. Kofi then ended up tagging in, and him and Woods ended up double teaming on Jey. Kofi then ended up springboarding off the ropes onto Jey, went for the cover. Jey ended up kicking out too. Jey ended up ramming Kofi into the corner, and he tagged in Jimmy, and so the Usos ended up double teaming on Kofi. Moss ended up coming in. He ended up taking over on Kofi in the corner. So Kofi ended up countering something from Madcap Moss, and he ended up tagging in Drew McIntyre. Moss ended up coming in, and McIntyre ended up rocking Moss. Moss ended up decking McIntyre, started unloading on him in the corner. And we had later on the New Day ended up attacking the Usos, and we had a brawl between them on the floor. So we had later on a match where Kofi ended up bringing a platter of cookies. And he leapt off the top onto the floor. He ended up smashing the Usos in the face with the platters filled with cookies, which those were a waste of cookies there. so they look good. So we had, I think it was Jey Uso drinking eggnog, which looked like it was terrible. It was terrible eggnog, like he didn't like it. So then we saw McIntyre end up chasing Corbin around the ring. Kofi ended up meeting Corbin with a kendo stick candy cane at ringside. Kofi ended up coming from behind. Corbin ended up yelling at McIntyre. And then Kofi ended up pouring a jug of eggnog all over Corbin. Embarrassing. So we had Moss and Corbin. They were staring Kofi down. McIntyre ended up taking advantage of the distraction. He ended up coming from behind and covered both Corbin and Moss in eggnog. So McIntyre ended up bringing Moss back into the ring and leveled Moss with a Claymore. And there you go. Drew McIntyre and the New Day ended up winning the match. Post-match, we had Woods end up taking some figures and T-shirts to ringside. He standing on top of the barricade. He was tossing the items to the crowd on the floor. So that's what they were doing. Woods, Kofi, and Drew McIntyre were tossing things to the audience. Then New Day and McIntyre were continuing throwing gifts into the crowd. And I don't know who threw the box. I think it was Kofi or Xavier Woods. One of them threw the box at Moss. And then Moss ended up falling face first. And I'm like, oh, God. Just cue the as Moss ended up falling to the floor. This was awful. This was embarrassing. Absolutely terrible. And Corbin was wearing shorts there. It's the winter time. And Corbin's wearing shorts there. So, but overall, SmackDown, this taped holiday edition of SmackDown, was fucking awful. Terrible. WWE took the night off and gave us, Charlotte versus Toni Storm for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Predictable. We all knew that Charlotte was going to retain. A Gauntlet match which took up most of the show. And this Miracle on 34th Street fight, which was awful. And then on Monday Night Raw, this Monday, we're going to have to endure The Miz and Maurice renewing their vows. Why? What a waste of a fucking segment that's going to be this Monday night. Who wants to watch that? Might as well take your bathroom break, when that segment happens. All of you. All of you should take your bathroom breaks when that segment comes on. I have to say, The Miz and Edge, this is Edge's worst feud here with The Miz. Edge deserved someone better than the fucking Miz. And then you're going to have Beth Phoenix end up coming in. So I guess we're going to be getting Beth Phoenix and Edge taking on The Miz and Maurice. That's going to happen. That is why Beth Phoenix left the NXT commentary table. She didn't want to be at NXT anymore because Vince and Bruce took control of it. So I don't blame her. And that is why she's going to be used in this whole feud between The Miz and Edge. So, but that's that. That's your SmackDown review. But overall, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review on this Christmas Eve. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all tomorrow with my Christmas morning vlog. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. And I'll see you all tomorrow with the video.